محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما. أبدأ باللغة العربية وسأستمر بالإنجليزية إن شاء الله. يعني هذا صعب أن أستمر هذا التكلم بعد الشيخ الأزهري الذي قال أحسن شيء وأهم معلومات الذين نستطيع أن نفهم ونفكر فيها. قال عن العلم الكسبي والعلم الوهبي، وهذا شيء عجيب ومهتم، وسنتكلم أيضا عن هذا الموضوع لكن من طريقة أخرى إن شاء الله، لأني لست عالم الإسلام بل في مجال علوم الاجتماعية، لكن حتى باللغة العربية لم أدرس العربية أبدا في المدرسة أو في المعهد أو في أي مكان، بل خلال السفر على العالم العربي من موريتانيا حتى اليمن. كنت أتعرف الناس، بقيت معهم، اشتريت بعض الكتب وحاولت أن أدرس العربية حتى أستطيع أن أفهم، لكن للأسف لا أستطيع أن أتكلم كثير وأن أدرس بهذه اللغات المباركة. لذلك أستمر بالإنجليزية إن شاء الله. First, I forgot to thank the organizers and the leaders of this very amazing institute that I heard about a long time ago. So thanks for the invitation. As I said, it's not easy to speak even after the recitation of the Quran, because the recitation of the Quran of today reminds us very important responsibility we have. So what to add? All is in the sacred book. Then the Sheikh Al-Azhari mentioned very important points that let me a bit speak less, because it's my turn now to speak. So I can just share my humble experience, because experience is also a part of knowledge, but a different knowledge. Yesterday in the City of Knowledge we spoke about that. We spoke about the two sources. When we study Islamic studies, we start by the Quran and Sunnah. We try to understand the Wahi, and we derive from that principles, norms, lessons that we apply in our life. But at the same time, this is top-down approach. At the same time, we can study the context, siyaq, a society, what happens outside, to understand the challenge, the needs of people, and how we can apply Islamic principles. That's my modest contribution here, talking about that second dimension. Because at the end of the day, is a cycle, all go together. But let me start talking about how I came here. Subhanallah, because I didn't expect to be here today. I mean, yesterday I was informed, but 3 days ago I had no idea about coming here. Even if the intention of coming here has been in my heart maybe for the last 10, let's say 10 years, at least 10 years. And now I'm here. I don't even know how. بإذن الله الحمد لله. وهذا شيء عجيب وقوي جدا إذا نفكر في هذا. First time I heard about this place indirectly, it was in Singapore. I went to Singapore to try to study Islam in Malaysia, so Singapore was just a transit for me. In the metro there was a brother, a Malay brother, Singaporean Malay Muslim, close to me. He was reading a book entitled Jerusalem in the Quran. I didn't know this man. I didn't know he was a Muslim first, but I was sitting here in the metro and, you know, it's a long way, so I just tried to read some lines, just for my curiosity. And I found it very interesting, so I asked his brother, Assalamu alaikum, what's the title of this book and who is the author? He said is Imran Hussein. So I checked online, and a bit later I contacted the Sheikh Imran Hussein in the West Indies, Trinidad. The Sheikh replied to me, he said, you're welcome to come here and to study with me. It was in 2010, 2 years later. Finally I went to meet him, and he introduced me to the approach to Quran and Sunnah of the Sheikh Fazlur Rahman Al-Ansari. That's how I heard about this place. And I was amazed by the work and by the approach of the Sheikh Al-Ansari. I was very interested in his way to go to the Quran, to understand the Quran, and his openness to society, to understand the context as well. So it triggered for me an even deeper interest that I had for the interesting works of Imran Hussein regarding the eschatology. I got books, fundamental teachings of the Quran. I forgot the specific titles. I got the 2 volumes from Trinidad at that time. And then I heard that the center was based in Karachi. I tried to know about the Sheikh, but it was far away. Years later, I worked in Cape Town, and going to the library, I found a book of the Sheikh Fazlur Rahman Al-Ansari as well. So I was amazed to see that many people in Cape Town know about him, they respect him, because he went to the city, delivered very powerful talks about Islam, and he was a great scholar that his contribution was very beneficial in Cape Town. Thirdly, that's how I came here. My intention was not to be here. I didn't come to Pakistan to come here specifically. I went to Islamabad first, then Peshawar, then Lahore. My intention is to travel to try to understand society, take advantage of the time till we are still in life, alhamdulillah. So better to keep busy with things. But in Islamabad, I met a sheikh that introduced me to Dr. Umayr. And then I found out that it was connected to this space. Why I'm saying that? It's a bit a long story. I say that to show and to remind us, because we know that everything is from Allah, and there is purpose, and everything will happen in our life. When we live our life, we don't see the connections. But we are taken somewhere to do something, to meet some people who will push you to go a specific way. And life continues like that. When we remember that, we can develop the sense of tawakkul. We can remember that actually is all Allah who controls us. Our duty is to try to serve Him, to pray, to ask for forgiveness, to ask for guidance, and to struggle to try to do benefit things in our life. But at the end of the day, nothing is on me, nothing is on my effort. I cannot do anything myself. Only Allah make us do things and guide us in our life. So, for the short introduction of how I end up here, and I'm very happy to visit the place, I would like to come back a bit to the teachings of Sheikh Fazlur Rahman Al-Ansari, but how it can be applied in our life, maybe, if I could share some experience in terms of da'wah and so. First, I think that it's clear for us as Muslims that knowledge is to be applied. A problem we have in the Western academia, now it's not Western anymore, it's like you find this academic system in all countries. One of the problems is abstraction, knowledge for knowledge. So people may study philosophy, they stay in the office 50 years, they don't have an impact in life, and it's somehow isolated in their mind. But in Islam, we are more pragmatic than that, because knowledge is supposed to be applied in our life and in society. So for me, I will summarize 3 approaches that are hand in hand. Gaining knowledge, or trying to get knowledge, first point. Then education, it means to spread knowledge, not to keep for ourselves, to try to share with others. And thirdly, implementation of knowledge in society, which is action. All are going together, and it cannot be disconnected. Only in Western modern universities, they tend to disconnect these things, because obligation sometimes it doesn't exist. It's just knowledge for knowledge, especially these last years. So here I'm very happy to see that the project involves educating people, scholars that will have mission, that will go somewhere to deliver the message and to try to have an impact on the world. I think that's one of the fundamental approach to knowledge that we have to take very seriously. Knowledge, education, implementation of knowledge which is Asian. Now I could say that in terms of da'wah, the understanding of the context is as important as the understanding of the sacred scriptures, the Quran and Sunnah. Why? Because to practice the knowledge concretely, we need to understand the people we interact with, we need to understand society. If not, it wouldn't work. So it's very fundamental to understand Quran and Sunnah, but also when we go outside of the madrasa, when we go in the world to spread the message, we have to understand people, the context, the struggles. Maybe I can share a few stories about this. Then coming back to the point that Sheikh Al-Azhari mentioned, because everything is connected. I've been doing a project of research in Latin America about Islam, autochthonous conversions to Islam, or local native people that convert to Islam. Not only native, but let's say Colombian, Brazilian, Mexican. In these two countries, I try to understand why there is a spread of new Muslim communities, but also why many people converted to Islam, but after a few months or a few years, they leave Islam. So they become non-Muslim anymore, if you want. I try to study that based on sociological approach, not normative, meaning I go to the field, I go to the villages, to the cities, to the mosques, talking to people, observation, interviews, to collect data. Based on the data, I try to understand why many people, they accept Islam, they said Shahadatain, they begin to try to learn to pray and so, but lately they get discouraged and they leave Islam, we don't know why. So that was my purpose, my interest. Before giving some conclusions of the study, I would say that I met a very interesting brother in Chiapas in Mexico, in the mountain. He's a man who converted to Islam in the US. He's from Mexico, he's a young man. He's very motivated to give da'wah to people. So we took a taxi one day, and the taxi driver was not very talkative, but this man, he began to talk to him in a local language, because there is Spanish, but there is also dialect. And I couldn't follow the discussion, but my friend, my Muslim brother, turned to me and he said, "No, I'm stuck because he's a Christian from a Christian denomination, and I don't know how to respond to him, and he's showing his right and what I'm doing." Then finally the taxi ride finished, so we went out. But then I tried to tell him, you know, da'wah is a heavy thing. It's very good to do it, but sometimes we have to be sure about the context and to be sure about what we say. Because it seems that the Christian men gave da'wah to you and now you're confused. SubhanAllah. So that's one example that shows sometimes there are some shortcomings in terms of da'wah if we don't understand the people. In this case, it wasn't the lack of understanding of the culture, it was the lack of understanding of Islam itself, Quran and Sunnah and all the Islamic tradition. So, in those countries, da'wah is very quick, very important, because a lot of people, they have the faith in Allah in the heart, like a fitra. So if you speak to them, if we go wearing like you wear, or like I wear, in Colombia, many people come to you in the street and they ask, which church is that? They think it is a Christian group, because they don't know Islam. Say, oh, you look like religion people. Who you belong to? Then you say, we are Muslim, Islam. They say, oh, what's that? Then you say, it's about worshipping Allah. Or you explain in the language, it's about worshipping God. Unicity of God, we pray directly to God. God controls everything. And God sends messengers and so on and so on. And the people say, oh, we believe in that too. But we are Christians, but in the Catholic Church we don't agree with what they say sometimes. And they follow you. So these people go with you to the mosque and they are very interested in what they say. And after maybe 30 minutes or an hour, If you ask them to say Shahadatain, they accept. Many of them. So da'wah is very powerful, it's very quick. But then what happened? There is a lack of education. And these people, they struggle to follow a straight path or Islamic path. First, there is a lack of knowledge. Then the context is difficult to apply Islamic norms in the life in terms of alimentation, in terms of relations, in terms of many things. So da'wah must be considered very seriously. I have also an interesting example, I think, which seems a joke, but is not a joke. I went to very deprived neighborhoods close to Cartagena in Colombia. So it's like a suburb, poor neighborhood. And people say out there it's very dangerous. People shot with gun. And but there is a mosque. There is a little masjid with 10 to 15 people who pray. They are all local, no foreigners. All Colombian reverted to Islam. So I went there. I visited the people and I met the imam, the so-called imam. Then the imam talked to me. He was a very friendly guy. He said to me, my knowledge of Islam is very weak, but I know how to pray. I know a few surah, maybe 4 or 5 surah. But I wish to learn, so help me, or please send people to help us. Then he said, oh, now I have to go because my girlfriend is waiting for me at home. Then I told him, oh, okay. Then the second day I told him, oh, how is your wife? He said, no, it's not my wife, it's my girlfriend, I'm not married. And we live with our kids. I mean, subhanAllah, I didn't know how to react. Then I told him, brother, do you know that Islam, you cannot have this relation. It's haram, you need to get married. So I advise you now that you get married with this woman. He said, is it true? SubhanAllah. He was the imam of the community and they pray 5 times a day, they fast Ramadan also, you know. They try to follow Islamic principles. But in that situation, he never got Islamic basic knowledge. I was told to keep short. So I will try to rush 3-4 minutes more, inshallah. What I'm giving these examples is not for entertainment. It's to show the necessity of Islamic work in many areas of the world. When we go to many non-Muslim countries, there is a lack of people being able to educate others, to teach, to spread Islam. Not just that they say Shahada, but that they learn about Islam and that there will be sustainable Muslim community. Meaning it's a work, it's not a work of one day, it's a work of many months. We need people to work. Myself, I feel guilty because I could stay there. I'm not half with Quran at all. They ask me, stay in the mosque and do Tarawih here, and not the mosque. I said, why? I'm not good, I don't have a good tajweed and so. They say, yeah, but nobody does. So you're the best of us, there's nobody here. So I say that to show you there's a crucial need. And because there's lacking, also there's a lot of groups going there in the name of Islam, different denominations, maybe we don't need to name them. But they spread Islam in a problematic way, making it very difficult. One day in Mexico City, there was a woman converted to Islam. Then she called me on Facebook. She said to me, I want to leave Islam. Just after a few days after the conversion. I said, why? She told me, I went to the mosque and they said I cannot go out without a mahram and I need to wear the niqab, but I'm a single mother. My daughter is 6 years old and I live with my sister and my mother. There is no man. So no mahram and I don't want to wear the niqab in Mexico City. So I said, who said that to you after 3 days? So some groups make da'wah in a very strict understanding of Islam, pushing people away of it, sadly speaking. So sometimes we see da'wah projects that turn into counter da'wah, because before they came, people were acceptable and open to Islam, and after the group came, they say, no, now we don't want Islam. SubhanAllah. And I think that we don't have time today to develop this topic because the timing is short, but we should develop this reflection of the context. I will finish by going back to the advice, nasiha, that Sheikh Al-Zahari gave us. He mentioned the knowledge, the 3 steps of knowledge. So at the first time we think we know a lot of things, and we may become arrogant, then we turn to humility, and then at the stage of the fanda is another thing that is even written, subhanAllah. May Allah guide us towards this destination. What is important here also for da'wah? A last anecdote. I was visiting my father in a, how say that in English? Nursery place. Like, it's not a hospital, it's a place where disabled people stay, in a very bad condition. When I visited my father regularly to the place, I recognized a man who was my chemistry teacher in high school. I saw him and he told me, oh, I got a sickness. I got babies, but my sickness, they said in 6 months, normally I will be dead. So I look at this man and I felt in my heart, oh, I will speak to him about Islam. But I felt so ashamed. Why? Because every time I saw him, he was so happy. He was so happy. And this guy, his body became like losing all the muscles, like a kid. But he was always smiling, positive talks, happiness. He say, I accept the destiny. It's like that. I'm just sad for the babies. And me, with all the blessings, barakah we have, ni'mah we have in our life, I'm a complainer. I say I feel upset, I feel sad, whatever. So how come can I tell him Islam is the truth? He's a nice man. And me, I have faith that Islam is the truth. But the problem in da'wah, in this sense, if I tell him Islam is the truth, if he wants to be mean with me, he said, you're a liar. I look at you, you're miserable. So why you want to bring something you don't apply for yourself? And my last point is here. In terms of da'wah, that's why we mentioned the 2 parts of knowledge. The exterior knowledge, the ilm we have, we are able to comment, give tafsir of Quran, whatever, interpretations, understanding of the text. But there is also tazkiyah, purifying the heart, and it's very crucial for da'wah. We have to work on both at the same time because one cannot be without the other. And purification, tazkiyat nafs, it's crucial to implement Islam in our life without before trying to spreading it out. If not, there is little credibility. So I think that it was clear also in the previous message. I just try to link that to concrete experiences, and hopefully we can have some reaction, comments, advice of you, and forgive me for my shortcomings. Barakallahu fikum, jazakumullah khair, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah, thank you very much, Dr. Yahya, for such valuable talks, and having listened to his talk and listened to his experiences, I think we all know now very much, very